Brian Dunn here from Casa Valley Farms. In this series we're going to be taking a plot of ground. It's full of weeds. It's about 90 by 50. And starting from scratch, we're going to develop it for growing crops. We also will have what they call a bay in the greenhouse, and we'll be doing the same thing there. We'll be showing you how to deal with the weeds in the first place, types of irrigation you can set up from the very simple to the more complex. And our students here at Daystar Adventist Academy, Casa Valley Farms, will be endeavoring to grow food for their own cafeteria. There is a statement in the Spirit of Prophecy that tells us that she says, again and again the Lord has shown me that our people need to move out of the cities so that they can live in the country and raise their own provisions. I think that counsel is more important today than ever before.
So in this short video, you won't have time to read all these quotes, but there's many angles which the Spirit of Prophecy uses to encourage agriculture to be seen as a subject for missionary training, as a subject that teachers should wake up to, and also, of course, for an end-time context of families being able to raise their own food. It's not just farmers we're talking about here. It's Adventist people knowing how to work with their Creator in the system He designed from the beginning, to learn about Him and to learn responsibility. It's the best education for the mind of the Christian. Here the students are getting ready to divide up their plot and mark it out, and they help me plan it. Here they're being taught by one of the students who has a bit more experience, and here they are working on their plots. Once they've decided how they're going to divide them out, then they will decide what crops they will grow. They'll learn by experience what crops will grow in the fall, etc., etc. Here, after a couple of months, this is the fruits of their labors. We've got many different types of crop. That's the advantage of the system. They're learning full spectrum gardening. Here we have a greenhouse to work in, and that's what you were seeing. But we also have off to the left a large plot that is populated with vegetables also. So the students get a hands-on harvesting themselves of their own crops. They do hands-on seeding themselves. This is romaine being sown for the cafeteria. Here we're harvesting for the farmers market in town, which the students get to participate in. They're bringing in compost that we were able to get from our farm, organic alfalfa. They learn how to thin and companion plant, and they even have fun playing with the local snakes that are not poisonous. The idea of this class was something I saw a need for because students had a difficult time connecting with the large-scale market gardens sometimes. This, however, gets them in at a level they can relate to a little more quickly so that they can appreciate the larger scale farming. It gives them choices, ownership, dignity, fun, motivation. They get to taste their own crops. They also learn special skills of caring and nurturing, which Ellen White says is how they learn to be good evangelists and missionaries. You see, God knows what the human mind needs to develop. This is the most comprehensive way of learning about responsibility and God's development in nature. In the garden, we learn what God can do and we can't, and we also learn what we must do and He will not. That's a lesson in salvation too. So here they are getting ready. Their crops are getting ready to go out to door to the local community, where we're greatly appreciated because we teach our students agriculture. And we're raising money actually to help another school start a small garden project. So even though schools may not be able to jump into an industry at a high level, may not have the money or the land, you can certainly do a small garden and grow from there into industries. The main thing is, though, that farming is not posed by the Spirit of Prophecy purely as an industry, but as an important subject for Christian development, which is lacking in our society. The class only takes two 2-hour blocks a week for each student. However, they work more time on the actual Market Garden farm.
Oh, really nice. Look at that.
I'm not going to eat one right now because they're completely new.
Maylene learned that her own carrots tasted 10 times better than the store-bought carrots she ate at home. So students are learning industry, they're learning business, economics, mathematics, and planning out how to lay out their gardens. They're learning science, they're learning chemistry and soil amending. They're learning what's most important, though, responsibility and how God works with nature.
So that it doesn't get too much growth.
Well, that's true. If you have too much growth, it'd be hard to pick, right?
I remember last year you said it's like cutting somebody never cutting their hair and somebody cutting their hair.
Right.
Like if you don't prune the tree,
Yeah.
it's like letting it get out of hand.
Yeah.
basically.
So it's not hurting you to cut your hair, is it? There's many reasons why. One of the reasons we find out is what Jesus says. He said that God prunes us so that we bear more fruit, and that's exactly why you prune. A tree doesn't put out as much fruit when you don't prune it. It spends more time growing and getting big and competing for light, right? And so God designed it that way so that we would learn a lesson about ourselves. And so he wants us to bear more fruit, so he prunes us.
Wait, but if he prunes us, wouldn't that shorten our lives too?
Well, it shortened Jesus' life, didn't it? But for a good purpose. So no, it doesn't shorten our life to physically to prune us, because it's not the exact same in every way. What it does is, for some Christians, it shortens their lives because they give their lives for God. Yeah, because living long isn't the main purpose of being a Christian, but we want to be healthy and live long lives for service purposes. So most people, the pruning is what? I mean, what would Christian pruning be? How does God prune us? Right, take away bad habits, help us to quit bad habits, and we bear more fruit then. We're more useful to him for the purpose of doing righteous things, right, and helping people rather than selfish things. And so Jesus says, you know, my Father will prune away any branches that don't bear fruit. That could be habits. So we take off a branch, this branch will now bear more fruit. It stimulates it actually to bear more fruit. The other type of pruning we do is where you cut out a whole dead limb altogether, and that's sort of like the person who just rebels against God, and like Satan, he had to be pruned out of heaven altogether, right? But for Christians, the type of pruning we're having is corrections and things that help us live better lives, right? It's not necessarily that God's taking us out altogether. So the thing is, if you prune properly, you avoid having to prune off a whole limb, right? A huge limb. If you prune properly, it saves a tree from diseases and things like that.
You cannot improve on God's system for learning, and we have, as a society, been too influenced by the changes in our society. We need to be individuals who follow God regardless, just like Abraham, believing God and following his direction. That's what God wants, and this is the way to teach it.